to my YouTube channel. Today we'll be discussing SURD. We'll be starting a series, SURD, but in this video we'll focus our attention only on the basic rules, because the moment you're able to understand the basic rules guiding SURD, you'll be able to solve any question irrespective of the form the question is coming. And I will advise that you should check our video on square and square root. Do it for junior secondary school on this YouTube channel. Square and square root, it will go a long way to guide us. It is going to be very helpful. Those ideas from that topic, we're going to be using a whole lot of it in SURD. But basically, on this video, we'll be discussing the basic rules that guide SURD. So in our subsequent video, we'll be solving addition and subtraction. We'll solve some other ones like multiplication and division. Then we'll do rationalization of SURD. So kindly stay glued to this channel for updates on all these that I have mentioned. But in this video, let's see how the basic rule operates. Awesome. So we start with rule number 1. So we say rule number 1. That's what we have here. This is rule number 1. If you have the square roots combining A multiplied by B, so it is advisable you split them. Square root A multiplied by square root B. So that's the meaning. If you have a square root combining what you have here, so it is advisable you split them. So let's take some examples. Now, for example, if you have, say for instance, let's take some example. This is an example. We have square root of 100. So if you have square root of 100, if you have to go by this rule, it means we can split what we have. We can say 4 times 25 will still give us 100. 4 times 25 will still give us what? 100. Awesome. So look at what we have here. This is multiplying, and we have 100 here. So we're actually splitting it the way it is here. That's applying rule number 1. So with that, you can put 2 of them separately. Now you can say we have root 4 multiplied by root 25. We are still saying the same thing. We are just splitting them. So it is as easy and as simple as that. So naturally, root 4 is a perfect square root. So that's 2. Beautiful. So times what we have here. Root 5 is what? Root 25, sorry, is 5. Awesome. So if you now say 2 times 5 will give you what? 10. Beautiful. So naturally, if you bring out your calculator and punch square root of 100, it will give you 10. But if you are operating in SURD form, you have to follow this rule number 1. It is very important. So let's call this one example A or 1. Beautiful. That's example number 1. So let's take another example. Call it. So applying this rule number 1. Let's take another example. If for example we have, let's say, for example we have square root of, say, 18. Okay, now if you are to go by the method used up here, so we can say 18 can give us 2 times 9. 2 times 9 will give us 18 naturally. 2 times 9 will give us 18. Awesome. So if you are to split it, that means we'll have square root of 2 and 9. Beautiful. So you are already splitting this one, applying rule number 1. Beautiful. So with this, now 2, square root of 2 is not a perfect square, so you can only stop here for 2. But for 9 is a perfect square. You can have square root of 9 will give us what? Give us 3. Beautiful. So with that, we can now say 3 times root 2 will give us 3 root 2. That can give us 3 root 2. Beautiful. So this can give us 3 root 2. Applying rule number 1. Can we take one more example for rule number 1? Okay, let's take one more example. See, okay, let's just take this as a template. Okay, let's take one more example for rule number 1. So let's say, for example, let's pick number 35. Awesome. So how can we split number 35 now? 5 times 7 will give us 35, so we should be able to do that. 5 and 7 will give us 35. Beautiful. So splitting them now, as usual. Splitting them, it means we can split. This one will be 7 and this one will be what? 5. Awesome. Beautiful. So with that, 5 is not a perfect square. 7 is not a perfect square. So there's nothing we can do again for this, because 5 is not a perfect square, 7 is not a perfect square. So it is better we leave our answer this way. So we've been able to see an example in which the two numbers splitted are perfect square. We've been able to see example in which the two numbers splitted, one is a perfect square, the other is not. So we have 3 root 2. And the last example, the two numbers splitted, they are not perfect square. So let's go straight to rule number 2. The moment we understand these basic rules, we'll be able to tackle a whole lot of questions in SURD. So let's take rule number 2. Rule number 2. Beautiful. This is the rule. So it means if you have a square root guiding numbers that you are dividing, so it is advisable you split them up and down. It is advisable you split them up and down. So let's take some example. Beautiful. So we see example number 1. Let's take root 16 over root 4. Okay, let's take template. So we are dealing with rule number 2 now. So let's use this as example number 1. So let's say we have root 16/4. Beautiful. If we have this now, if you have to go by this rule, it means you should split 2 of them. That's the meaning. You should do what? Split 2 of them. If you have to go by this example, it means you should split 2 of them. So this one will be what? 4 down here, and we'll have 16 up. Beautiful. So if you're actually splitting, that means (16) is a perfect square. That's why I say you should check our video on square and square roots. You know those perfect square. 16 is a perfect square and 4 is a perfect square. So square root of 4 will give you what? 2. And square root of 16 will give you what? 4. Because they are perfect square. So our answer, 4 divided by 2 will give us what? 2. That's a typical example. So let's get another example. Let's see. Let's get another example. So let's see example number 2. Awesome. So let's see this example 125. Then we actually want to put our divide here, divided by 5. So let's get this down here. Beautiful. This is another example. If you have something like this, square root of 125 divided by square root of 5. So it is not going to be out of place. If you put 2 of them together, see 125 divided by 5. And depending on what situation it is, if this is a perfect square, you can bring it out. If this is a perfect square, you bring it out, then you divide 2 of them. But if they are not, you can go through this route and say 125 divided by 5. Can bring 2 of them together, you are still very correct. So if you punch your calculator and say 125 divided by 5, it will give you what? 25. Beautiful. Since 25 is a perfect square, root of 25 will give you what? 5. That is how to apply this rule number 2. So let's quickly dive straight to rule number 3. We need to understand this basic rule. They are very key and they are very important. Rule number 3, it will help us when solving questions, different questions in SURD. Rule number 3, beautiful. Rule number 3, if you have the square root or square of a particular number, that means this square root is in 2 places, so you can split them 1, 2. As you can see, this is a perfect square in 2 places, And if it is not a perfect square, just split them into two places. This is now telling you that when you say root A times root A will give you A. If you say root 14 times root 14, it will give you 14. That is what this rule is telling us. Root 25 times root 25 will give you 25. That's why we say root A times root A will give us A. That is what this rule is telling us. Let's get an example. So if you have something like this, say root 25, example. Let's say you have this, say 25, beautiful. So if you have something like this, applying this rule will simply means we can split this root 25 into two places. That is what the rule is telling us. If we are to apply this rule, that is what it's telling us. So we can say that we have it this way, this 25 square. So we just have our 25 and our 25. That is what the rule is telling us. If you have root 25 times root 25, this root 25 is in two places. That is what it means. Root 25 in two places. So by implication, it means root 25 naturally will give us 5. Root 25 will give us 5. 5 times 5 will give us 25. So it depends on what you want. But if you have to go according to this rule, root A times root A times root A will give us A. Now root 25 times root 25 will give us what? 25. That's the meaning. But if you don't want to go through this route, you are still very correct. If you say you want to say, or if you have something like this, root 25 times root 25. Root 25 is a perfect square, so you can say root 25 is 5. Then times another root 25 that you have there is 5. And if you say 5 times 5, it will give you what? 25. You are still very correct. But because the reason why we don't want to go through this route is if you are having a number that is not a perfect square. Say if you have root 7 times root 7 now. 7 is not a perfect square, so root 7 times root 7 will just give you 7. But because this is a perfect square, that's why we say let's go through this route. So you are very correct. Anyone that suits you. And if you say you don't want to go through this route, that you want to do it this way, you are still saying the same thing, because this square can cancel this square and you'll be left with what? 25. Anyhow you want to do it, you are still very correct. That's rule number 3. So let's go to the last rule we have here. That's rule number 4. Rule number 4. Rule number 4. If you have A root C plus or minus B root C, by implication it means when you have any number outside here with root C, either plus or minus another number with root C, this root is common. Look at it. The moment it is plus or minus that is in between, the moment it is plus or minus that is in between, and the root here and root here is common, just bring out one of them. This is it. And if it is plus that is in between, just say A plus B, you put it outside. If it is minus, just say A minus B, you put it outside. It is as simple and easy as that, provided what you have here and what you have here are the same. let's get an example. Let's get an example. Beautiful. Now, if you have, say for instance, okay, let's say we have this. Let's use this as a template. Rule number 4 now, don't forget. We are dealing with rule number 4. Let's take the first example. First example, okay, for instance, let's say we have 5 root 6, for example, plus, let's remove this, it's either plus or minus, anything that is there, you are still correct. 4 root 6. So for example now, if you have 5 root 6 plus 4 root 6, if you have to go by this rule, since we have the same root 6, all you just need is to do what? Just pick out root 6 and add what you have outside here. It's as simple as that. Just say your 5 is outside, your 4 is outside. 5 plus 4, 5 plus 4. Then bring your root 6. That is it. That is what you actually have here. Just since this and this are common, just add what you have here. If it is minus 2, you do the same thing. So it's as easy as that. So if you actually want to solve for that, you just say 9. 5 plus 4 is 9. 9 root 6. So that's your answer. Very easy. So let's take another example. So the moment we're able to understand this basic rule, you'll be able to solve any question in SURD. Okay, let's say for example we have 8 root 2. We have 8 root 2. Okay, say minus, let's use minus this time around. 3 root 2. Awesome. Beautiful. Since we have root 2 here, we have root 2 here, they are the same. All you just need to do is just say 8 minus 3. That's what we just do. Just say 8 minus 3. Since we have root 2 here, let's bring out your root 2. Beautiful. So with that, depends on what you actually want. Just subtract what you have here. 8 minus 3 will give you what? 5. And your answer, root 2, 5 root 2. So that's your answer. So that's the, we've been able to explain the 4 rules we have in SURD basically, and with some little examples. With these rules, we'll be able to solve different questions of different form depending on how the question comes. For applying this rule, it's going to go a long way to help us. You can always pause, rewind this video for better clarification and understanding. If you have any question or any issue about any of our video or this, kindly drop a comment with us. Even if it is question, we'll reply as soon as we can. Help like this video and subscribe to this YouTube channel, My Simple Maths. And don't forget to press the notification bell, activate it so that you can always get notification from us whenever we post a new video. Thank you.